Welcome, everybody. This is our February 19, 2020 edition of the Power Apps Community Call. Thank you all for joining us today. Quick note, this call is being recorded, so anything you say and do on this call can and will be used for absolutely nothing, actually. So I'm really excited to get our second call of 2020 going here today. And if you haven't joined one of our Power Apps Community Calls, let me tell you a little bit about it. And so what we do is we meet up every month like this. We meet in teams in this same channel, and we meet on the third Wednesday of every month. Our next call will be at the same time, 8 a.m. Pacific time on March 18th, 2019. And so whenever we meet up in these calls, what we do is we like to talk about the cool latest news and community announcements that are happening in the land of Power Apps. And a lot of times that spills over into other things in Office 365 as well, like Flow and SharePoint and CDS, Power BI, you name it. There's all kinds of things that relate to Power Apps, as you all know. And so that's what we talk about on this call. And we also get to meet the product teams behind Power Apps, the folks who actually are engineering this stuff and making these cool capabilities for us to build apps and games and all kinds of solutions on. We have technical deep dives on the different topics that we talk about, and we just in general like to have a good time and promote the community of all of us around the world who like working with this technology. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, today we have an action-packed agenda actually here. We're going to first introduce who's presenting today and then get right into the actual topics. We're going to talk about Teams integration, AI Builder Enhancements with Power Apps, and how to search custom entities with Power Apps portals as our example here. We're also going to talk about some recent news and community activities, and throughout this entire thing, we have a question and answer going on inside the chat. More on that in just a bit. Who are the hosts today? So that's me on the left. I'm Todd Baginski. I'm a partner and CTO. My company is called Canviz, and we're based in Washington State. We do a lot of work with Power Apps and Office 365 and Azure and build all kinds of cool, fun, custom software projects. You can find me on Twitter. I have a blog. I have a YouTube channel. I put lots of things about Power Apps on those places. So if you'd like to learn things about Power Apps, one of my hobbies is just sharing what I learn about Power Apps, and that's where I put it in case you'd like to check it out. We also have Brian Dang here today from Microsoft. Brian, thanks for joining us. It's been a while since you've been on the call. I think maybe 9-10 months or so, but I'm glad to have you back with us. Would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure, thanks for having me. I'm a program manager on the Power Apps team. I'm an enthusiast of Power Apps just as much as I'm somebody who works on the product. So I love seeing what the apps that people make. Please share more.
And Brian makes some really cool apps too. You should definitely check out his Twitter feed and look at some of the fun games he makes. They're really inspiring, and they inspired me early when I was working with Power Apps too. And I built a little tank game with my son out of Power Apps. Well, we tried. Certainly not as good as Brian's games. One really cool thing about our Power Apps community call is what's in the name of the call, community. And that's what this is all about. It's about sharing with everybody. And all these gentlemen right here are on the call right now. And there's so many more folks from the community. If you're showing up on a regular basis and I didn't realize it, let me know. I'd be happy to put you up here and give you a shout out too. And basically, all these guys show up every single month in the chat and answer any question anybody's got. It's incredible community, and many of them, as you can see, they all have a Twitter presence too. Lots of them are doing the same things that I talked about, of blogging and YouTubing and tweeting and just sharing all kinds of great Power Apps stuff. So thanks to all you awesome dudes for showing up today and helping out everybody. Happy to have you here. So we're going to jump right into it with our first topic of the day, and that is Teams integration. And Matthew, I'd like to welcome you to the call here today and say thanks for taking the time to show us what you've been working on. And I'll let you take it away from here and introduce yourself and share your screen and show us what you're going to talk about today.
Great. Thanks, Todd. So We released the Teams integration back in November, so some of this might be a review, but at the tail end, I wanted kind of show you some of the new stuff that it's coming very imminently, next few weeks/month. What you're seeing right now is Teams, and in this middle area right here is a Power App. Our vision of bringing Power Apps to Teams is really to allow modern workplaces to customize their experience within Teams so that they never have to leave. You can already use Teams to collaborate with texting your various teammates, sharing files, information. You can integrate with all your different Office products. But with connecting to Power Apps, you can build custom forms and applications to support your everyday work process. So in this particular team, we're looking at operations. And we have in here a channel that allows you to process various returns that you might get from a day-to-day basis. So we have this app. We can go in and check out the process return app. I have in here an AI model that can actually detect an image and tell me what the actual price and model of that particular item is. And then I can fill this out and submit it. So how did I actually bring this Power App into Teams? Well, there's two different ways. The easiest way is we have a Power Apps app within Teams that allows you to add a tab. You can search for your application, select it, and click Save. That'll add it as a tab. But we have what we launched in November, which allows you to add a Teams app as a first-class app within Teams. What that actually does is allows you to have an app show up as one of these first-class tiles. So you can actually see in here the CT Returns app is one such example that I've pinned right here. What this allows me to do is not only add it as another tab, so if I just click on this, click Save, that'll add it as a tab here. I can also add the same app into the app bar on the left. We call these personal apps. And what a personal app is what you just saw earlier, the operations team is, that's an app that's great for collaboration with other folks. But for applications, maybe your HR applications or time reporting applications, things that are specific to you, you can build those apps and pin them in the left bar, and there's an overflow for additional apps. So you always have them. So let's see how I added these.
When you pin it to the personal app section there, that's exactly what it's called, personal, right? That's for you, not for anybody else.
Yes, and as an admin, so say you want everyone in the company to have a personal app, you can go into the admin portal and actually distribute an application to everyone. And I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. Cool, great question.
I like that because it's like the built-in bookmark bar in a web browser, where you can just dial it in exactly to how you're working at that point in time.
Exactly. And the dream is for an information worker, you'll come to Teams in the morning, you'll kind of open it up. Everything that you need to get your job done is either pinned in the left rail or pinned as tabs within the various teams that you need to split, so you never actually have to leave. So within Power Apps itself, if you want to bring your app into Teams, if you find the app that you want, in my case it's CT Returns, you can click on the ... select this Add to Teams feature. If you go into the apps list, you can also see we have an Add to Teams button. And what this does, once you get this panel and click Download App, is it generates an application package that Teams natively understands. So if we go back to Teams, you can see I download this zip file. And if I go to apps, I can actually upload what's called a custom application. Now, for most of y'all that aren't Teams admins, you'll just have this option right here, upload for me or my teams. And this allows you to get an application, pin it for yourself, or pin it to one of your own teams. But if you're an admin, you can actually upload it for the entire team. So you select that and find the file that I just downloaded.
Doesn't matter if you have a PC or a Mac to do any of this.
Exactly.
So good to point out.
So this app already exists. Let me upload it for just me so y'all can see what that looks like. TT returns. And this is kind of the dialog that you would see. If you click on the add button, it would add it into your personal app bar. The drop down allows you to select or search for a team. And I could fill this out and it would populate in the right spot. Now I mentioned as an admin, you're able to basically pre-populate the app bar with various apps for folks. So maybe you have a application for everyone to report their time, and you want to make sure that every single person has it. Well, if you go to the Teams Admin Center, there's a whole section on Teams apps where you can manage your different applications, set up some permission policies. But what we care about are what's called setup policies. And what you can do is you can define new setup policies. You can see we have one for a first line worker, one for everyone. Let's go ahead and click on the first line worker. And you can actually define what people see on their very first day when they log into Teams. So the way it's defined right now is people see activity, shifts, chat, and calling. I want them to also see the CT return app because I think it's really important that folks have this application every single day. Let's see. This one I don't have edit access to, so we'll go to global. Click add and search for CT returns. And the app that I uploaded earlier as an admin will show up. I can click add, and then it will become one of the default applications in that left rail. I can even reorder it. Maybe it's so important that it should be the very first one, and then I can save. Now, it does take about 24 hours for this to propagate out, but this is a really great way if you want to distribute an application to get that into the hands of a lot of people. We've seen success stories of folks creating Power Apps and embedding them within something like Teams, and people will natively start using it without ever realizing that they're using a Power App. They just think that they're using another part of Teams. So that's what we launched in November. I quickly want to show in the last few minutes that I have some of the new things that are coming around the new horizon. So first, we have the big one is folks have been wanting to build a single Power app and be able to embed it in multiple channels, but they want it to actually react to its context, right? So maybe you have a team for your sales team and you have a channel per account. So maybe one's for Contoso, one's for a car company, one's for a grocery store, and you want the Power App in the middle to actually provide information about that specific customer. So what that would involve is passing in context from Teams into Power Apps. So starting in a few weeks, you'll be able to do just that. What you're seeing right here is a Power App where I'm doing something very basic, just grabbing the locale or language of the Teams client. So if we go into Power Apps, we'll see how we do that. So here we have a text box, so pretty simple. And all we're doing is saying, hey, let's show the locale of Teams. And we're using the param function to grab in the locale field that's passed into Power Apps. You'll see that we're referencing locale, and that's indeed what we get. What we're working on right now is what's supported right now is just the locale field. And what's making its way into production is being able to pull all of the contextual parameters that Teams has to offer. So what I have pulled up is the Teams context interface. And you can see all of the rich type of information that you'll soon be able to access within a Power Apps inside of Teams. So you'll know the channel ID, its name. Some other good ones are, hey, what's the site URL? So you can use all this information within your app to create really customized applications that can really scale to whatever Teams channel that they're embedded in.
Matthew, we have a quick question here.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Folks, if you embed Power Apps as a first-party app on the left-hand side, do you have to update it? Like,
No.
does it receive?
Yeah,
Thank
so if you, we can, let's see. So here's my application. If I actually went in to the CT app edited it and made some adjustment and did save and publish, those changes would immediately start reflecting within the application within Teams. There's 2 exceptions, or 3. If you want to change the icon, the name, or the description, you will have to download that zip file again and then update the app. To update the app, you'll go to where it is inside of your admin center. There's a nice little update link where you can re-upload that zip file. But for most app changes, you won't actually have to update this zip file.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great question. And the other thing I was going to demo for you, but it looks like it's not quite working for me today, is we're bringing model-driven apps into Teams as well, and that should be landing sometime in March.
See another question, Laura. If you publish to Teams, do you still have to share the app with users or the entire org on the sharing screen?
You do. So you'll still want to make sure that you share the app to make sure that everyone has access to it. We have, oh, look, here's the model-driven app working for me now. We do have plans to make that a little bit more streamlined, and that should be landing sometime around summer.
Cool. Let's see, I'm scanning back up for more questions here.
Todd, this is Mariano. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go for it.
So just so I'm completely clear, if you upload the upload process that you showed this now, any changes to that app will require you to re-upload that package. Is that correct?
Only if you want to change the name, icon, or description. So let's go ahead and demo it real quick. So if I want to change this, and maybe I want the title to be left line. If I save and publish it, it'll be reflected within the Teams app.
Gotcha. So what you're putting into Teams when you upload these apps is merely the metadata that points to these things.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, that makes perfect sense now.
So that makes even more sense back to Laura's question now. And then I see Lise also has the exact same question as Laura did. And because you're just giving a pointer in Teams to where this app exists in Power Apps, that's why you're securing it separately and pushing it out and updating it through Power Apps. That's real nice. So you can have your ALM completely different for Power Apps as you update that Power App. And once it's registered in Teams, the only time you need to re-update it in Teams, like you said, I think, Matt, you said it was what, the title, the image, and the description?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So those are the 3 things that were in the right rail on that very first way you showed how to make the team app, right?
Yes. So we try to make sure that you have, so if you click on Add to Teams button, we try to provide that information so that you can review it before you actually download that file. And under the hood, what's happening is Teams has this thing called App Studio, where you can define a bunch of properties for your application.
Yep.
Basically, under the hood, what we're doing is pre-populating all this information so that you don't have to fill it out yourself.
Gotcha. As long as your Power App doesn't change a GUID or an environment, that's going to keep working just fine.
Exactly.
I see a cool suggestion here. This one in the chat is, can one create a pinned tab that is essentially a bucket for org-wide apps? It's great to pin one app to the left nav of Teams, but what if you have a dozen org-wide apps? It looks like it's just kind of one icon equals one app on the left right now, not really that kind of click it and fly it out to many apps, huh?
Yeah, so let me quickly share my screen again. So there's a couple things that you could do. So we do have this overflow menu in the left that you could pin multiple applications. That's not to say that you couldn't have a hub app. Kind of the next thing that will probably land around April is be able to write code within Power Apps to navigate to different parts of Teams. Once we light that up, you could build a hub application which could navigate to other apps that you brought into Teams.
Yep, and a couple folks, as soon as I asked the question, typed that into the chat too. So everyone's thinking along the same lines there.
That's great.
Cool. Well, hey, you know what? There are a few more questions in the chat here, and I think we're going to jump over to the next part of the call this morning. But thanks so much for coming on and showing us all these cool things. A lot of great feedback. A lot of people saying mind blown, love it, etc. There are a few questions left in the chat though, so maybe as we move on, if you could take a look at those and help those folks out too, that'd be awesome.
Will do.
Cool. Thanks again. I will grab it back here for just a second to tee up the next part of what we're chatting about today. Next up, we have Joe coming in to talk to us about cool enhancements made to AI Builder. So this is the second topic in our hat trick of cool topics today. Joe, I'll let you take it away from here.
That's right. Thanks, Todd, and thanks, Brian, for the invite. Excited to show you the latest enhancements to the AI Builder. So I'm Joe Fernandez, and I'm a program manager in the AI Builder team. And if you don't know what AI Builder is the no-code AI experience for the Power Platform. So it allows you to very easily create AI for your business processes that you can then add to your Power Apps or flows in Power Automate in a very easy way. So it's been a good and a busy start of the year for AI Builder, a number of enhancements that we shipped in the last few weeks. The first one, which is a pretty cool one, is the text recognizer control in Power Apps. So now what you can do is you can add this control into your apps, and every time you take a photo, this control is going to extract all the text that's present in the photo. And the control is interactive. So if you see in the example here, I've taken a photo of an electricity meter, and I can tap on the actual reading, and I can then bind into a text input, for instance. So pretty cool. So if you haven't had a chance to test it, I encourage you to do so. The second enhancement that shipped last week is for the prediction scenario. So with the prediction scenario, what you can do is predict if a business outcome is going to happen in the future based on historical data. And up until a few days ago, you could only do prediction on a single CDS entity. Now we've released two enhancements. The first one is that you're able to predict over more than one entity, so related entities in CDS, as well as having the possibility to filter over the data. So maybe you don't want to predict over all your historical data, but given a date range or a geography, you can now apply filtering to the data you're going to predict. And the third one, which we've received a lot of feedback, is around simplify how you can use your AI Builder models in Power Automate. So when we launched the preview of AI Builder last June, we received a lot of good feedback around, hey, this is cool, but using AI Builder in Power Automate, it's difficult. At a point that even with other documentation, it was very complex. So we released end of January, so end of last month, an update that makes it simpler. And you can see some of the attendees of the call here reflected. There was a lot of excitement around it. So no more complexity, never again the complexity. So that was good to see. And I'll post also a link to, so Eric Sovey, who is an MVP, did a great blog post on what was the experience before and what's the experience now. So if you're curious to see what are the changes, that is a great resource to look into. And I think the best way to show it is through a demo. So I'm going to show how you can, once you finish training an AI Builder model, you can very easily use it in Power Automate. So let's do that.
Hey, Joe, does AI Builder currently only support CDS as its data source?
It depends on the scenario. For prediction, yes, but you could leverage, for instance, data flows to bring data from outside sources into CDS. For other scenarios, you can bring data like object detection and form processing. I think in the next week, you're going to be able to bring your images and documents from SharePoint, from OneDrive, from even Azure Blob Storage. The classification today is just it's CDS only. So depending on the scenario, it depends. But then there's ways where you can, if you don't have your data in CDS, you could, using data flows, bring it into CDS.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I'm here in AI Builder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to train a form processing model to speed up the demo. I've already started the process, and I'm training here a model to be able to extract data from invoices. And I'm in the step of the wizard where I'm asked which fields that have been detected I want to use in my model. So for this demo, I'm going to say that I'm interested in using the invoice ID and the total amount. So I'm going to click done. And then, so I go next. And I train the model. Because I only uploaded 5 documents, training should be very fast. So let's see. Okay, the training is complete. And once you train the model, you go into what we call the model details page, where you can see a summary of the model that you just trained. And in order to use it either in Power Apps or in Power Automate, you need to publish it. So let's do that. Let's click publish. And once it's published, I can use it in both apps. So let me go to Power Automate, and now let's create together a flow that leverages this model that we just trained. So the easiest way to start, if you search AI Builder in the Power Automate portal, you will see a series of templates which we launched last week. So we have one to quickly start with form processing, which is this one. Click a button to read information from documents. You'll find here some links to documentation. If you haven't used form processing before AI Builder, you can go here and we'll explain you how to do so. So let's go ahead and create this flow based on the template. So first thing I need to do is in the predict step, I need to choose a model. So let's choose the one that we just trained, which is called community call form processing model. This one. The template will pre-fill the document type and document that will come from the trigger that we are on the first step. And since Matthew showed us before Teams integration, let's also do something with Teams. So what I'm going to do is, what I want is every time a form is processed by the predict action, I want to post the invoice ID and the total amount into a Teams channel. So I'm going to select the Microsoft Teams connector, post a message, and I select my team, which in this case is Fourth Coffee. The channel, I have a channel where I see all the invoices that have been automatically processed by AI Builder. And I can do something like new invoice process. And I want to display the invoice ID and the total amount. And if you use our previous experience, you might recall that you need to do some complex JSON parsing. That is no longer the case now. You see all the information from the model right here. So you just have to click. So I want to show the value here, and I want to show the total value here. And we should be good to go. Maybe we can increase the font here so we can read a little bit better. And I hope that okay was excitement around this. So let's go ahead and save the flow and let's run it to see how it works. So the flow is saved, and I'm gonna trigger the flow manually, and it's gonna ask me, okay, please provide me a document and the document type. So well, first I need to send it to Teams, and send it to Teams. That's good. So I'm gonna select the document. And I should have one here. And this one is interesting because this one is been manually modified and it's handwritten the invoice ID and the total amount, which so we added 100 support a few months ago, and it's one of the most liked features that we have. And in this case, it's a JPEG file. So let's run the flow. Okay. So now the trigger is set. Predict will run, and it will call the AI Builder model that will train and extract the data and post what we wrote into the Teams channel. So now if we go to Teams, there we go, new invoice process, the invoice ID and the total amount. If we compare the file to check it did it right, so invoice ID 17542, good, and $950.30. There you go. So this is the new improved experience to consume AI Builder models in Power Automate. There's still a job to be done, so we're actively working on making it even more easier and more discoverable AI Builder in Power Automate. But I hope you like it and you leverage in your flows.
This is outstanding, Joe. Lots of great feedback in the chat, myself included. I was just saying, like, just imagine 5 years ago how long it would take to write the code to do what you just did there. And if you were doing that as fast as you could, not explaining it, I bet you could do it in 2 minutes. There were a couple questions that popped up. One was, do I have to have my model as well as my flow in the same solution for this to work? I'm going to guess you're going to probably say, no, they don't have to be, but I figured I'd ask.
They need to be in the same environment, but not in the same solution.
That makes sense. So you could update your model independently from your flow that way.
Correct, yeah.
What happens if I make a model and I've got V1 of my model out there and I'm running it, you know, and I'm tuning it as time goes by, and I have a couple flows hooked to that model, and now I update the model. Do the flows automatically pick that update up, or do I need to tell those flows, hey, I want you to use the next version of the model I just published?
So every time when you train a new version of the model, you're going to be asked to publish it. Once it's published, flow will automatically take it. So you don't need to modify the flow to consume it. The only thing to add is if, let's say that you're doing invoice processing and you change, like you add more values or you remove values that were there before, then you will need to update the flow. But if you don't make any breaking change, you're just like adding new data set to improve the model, then it's fine. It will be fine.
Cool. And what would you recommend from like the development to test to production progression as you have, let's just take the case, let's say just exactly what you built here. You have one model and this flow. If you wanted to stand up development, test, and production, how would you do that? Would you use 3 environments, or would you do it all within one environment and copies of everything? What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, so that's a very good topic, and maybe something that we can demo in the April community call. Because so today, with the exception of the prediction scenario, you cannot add AI models to a solution. So the best way would be to you add your AI builder model into a solution and you move it around the environments. But this is not supported for today for the majority of the models. So form processing, object detection, text classification don't support this today. We're adding support for solution-aware AI models in April. So then once that's in place, then having those models and those flows and those apps in the same solution and moving that across the environment will be the recommended approach.
Gotcha.
Today,
cool.
today you will need to, so if you create a new environment, recreate the model in the new environment.
Right on. That makes sense. Okay. Well, I will be in touch with you then to have you come back in April and show that off once it's shipped as well.
Definitely, yeah, my pleasure.
That sounds good.
Hey, Joe, I have a quick question for you. Do all models now support versioning? I think the only one that used to before was the object recognition.
Yes. So all except form processing. So that is going to be added in April as well. So in the April demo, we'll also show the versioning of form processing.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks again. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing this really cool stuff with us today. And this is amazing technology. You must have really fun on a day-to-day basis working on this and all the neat things that it can make so easy to do.
It is. And you were spot on, Todd, what you said, like a few years ago, like building your own AI model, your app, your automation, it would have taken days, if not months of work.
Oh, yeah.
And now with a
build
platform,
the authentication into it, all the API connections you need to stand up and then connect and consume. Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. It's getting closer and closer to what we watched in Star Trek growing up, when people would just talk to the computer and it would do things. That's for sure. Well, thanks again. If you want to scan the chat too in there might be a couple questions in there. I saw a lot of people chiming in on answering them. A lot of them were about licensing, and I think those got in there, but might be a question or two you want to scan and check the chat real quick on.
Sure, I will. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. That brings us to our third topic in our hat trick today. Sandeep, thanks for joining us too. Great to have you here today.
Thanks, Todd. It's good to be.
So you're going to be talking to us about searching some custom entities today, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Well,
hi, folks.
I'll let you take it away here and intro yourself, and then just jump right into it.
Sure. So, hi, folks. I'm Sandeep. I am a program manager on the Power Apps team, and I particularly focus on portals. So just switching to the screen here, what I'm going to talk about is portal has a ton of capabilities which allow you to have an application built for your external users. Users who are external to your organization. So as part of the features that we're doing for the release wave 1 this year, one of them is the enhancement to the portal search. So portal has provided for long a global search that allows one to search across records such as cases, knowledge articles, forums, post blogs, web pages, and web files. Now, the search capability today is widely used for those that have implemented the portals, but it does limit to the entity types, other record types that I have just mentioned. So hence there has been an ask to allow makers to configure more entity types which their business scenario demands, and especially on the starter portal where the options become all the more limited if you don't have like case entity or knowledge article entity, and you get limited to only searching on web pages and web files. So that wasn't useful. So we did receive a lot of good feedback and requests. And as I said, with around April, when we go deploying the release wave 1 features, what's coming to a portal near you is the capability to search additional entities, which kind of cover beyond just case and the other entity types, more out-of-the-box entities, and as well any custom entities that you create in the common data service. The capability will be inherent to the portals as a platform, so it will be available on all portal template types like the CDS starter or the blank portal built on top of the common data service, and the oral portal templates like the community portal, customer self-service, etc. We have tried to remain consistent in our configuration experience and the end user experience. So if you already have implemented this global search, now you can surface just more data within that experience. So one can now specify entities and attributes via a portal, search named entity view, which is going to actually define the scope of the set of attributes that you are going to allow search on, and hence be indexed for the search to run the queries off from. The next thing is that you can also specify once the search results come up and the end user actually clicks on a search result, what page should open to show that record type. And of course, all the goodness, if you want to create some more filters or want to provide weights on certain entity types so that the search results on those kind of surface up in the order higher, you could do that. We use the Lucene search, and it requires that syntax for the weights to be specified. And of course, all the goodness of being able to search with wildcards and like term modifiers and the search syntax, all is going to also be available for these additional entities. The portal search also will kind of honor all of the entity permissions and the authorization model that you have set. So if you have restricted an end user to see only records that are created by them, then you can limit it by entity permissions, and search like the other artifacts like entity forms and entity views or lists is going to honor the permissions model. And you could use just the search page to allow users to search and show up results, or you can programmatically use the search index liquid tag that we provide and build your own custom experience for search. And it is also going to kind of support the additional entities. So with that, let's get into the demo and see some of this stuff firsthand.
I have a question before you even start the demo.
Yep.
Is there a limit on the size of the data that you can search through?
Yeah, we are kind of finalizing that, but it's going to be quite large because the index file that gets created is pretty small. However, the larger the data is, we are going to keep some limits on the file size, but it's going to be announced closer to the release.
Sounds good.
So here what you see is a starter portal, and what I've done is I've customized it by adding the Northwind entities, which are particularly the order products, like that surface up on my web pages. So I have built that experience to have an orders list, and one can go ahead and kind of create orders and modify orders. But what I'm going to show you is this is the global search that portal has had. Now I have created filters in the by customizing it and surfaced my custom entity types here, orders and order products. So what I'm trying to search today is a particular set of orders that have to be kind of reviewed again. So what I do is I say that, oh, okay, I recall that the orders that I'm looking for have a 900 series order number in them. So I can use the wildcard search just to initiate it. And yes, it does surface up the 10 orders that are in that series. But since the order information is only limited right now in the primary field to be just the order numbers, this makes me click each of the orders to identify which ones need to be reviewed. Now, again, using global search, what I can do is I do remember that all of these orders did have the Northwind traders product in them. And I'm going to expand my search to the order products. So if I just say Northwind here and click on it, what it has done is it's kind of expanded that search to the other entity type that I had enabled, which is the order products. And what it does is that it starts showing me all of these products and the orders, and I can quickly use the facet to filter down to the type of records that I'm interested in. So this can be extended, but it doesn't really tell me, orders that I need to get down to. So I give it a little more information, and I know that it had clam chowder as one of the products in it. So if I go ahead and do that, what you see it has done is that it has still searched on the order number, the primary prefix to the product, and the specific product that has clam chowder in it has been surfaced up. So what Lucene Search does is it actually does rank the results higher where it sees most of the matches being made, and it also highlights the search terms that it finds. So it is going to show like what was the exact description or the title field where the match happened and what keywords were exactly matched. And this search result did rank higher amongst others. So if I click on it, I can now get down to all the orders that had this product and do my reviews. So that was just an example, but you can have other implementations. And yes, of course, because I have access to orders, if I sign out from here, I'm going to not be able to search on these. So it is kind of respecting and honoring the permissions model that I have put around the orders entity. So that was a quick glimpse. It does require you to go into some of the site settings that we call for portal and their access to the portal management app, wherein you go and enable these filters to show up and what are the weights that you can put against each of the entity types, and using site markers functionality of portals, you can specify which search result page should open. So if you noticed here, it actually opened up the products page because I specifically configured this page to be opened up. You can actually open up the entity form, which may look something like this. So if you go and want to just have the order information form open up, you can specify that as well in the site markers, and it's going to show up. So that's, I think, a quick glimpse of how this search functionality works and can be used. And yeah, over to you, Todd, for any questions.
Yeah, that's really nice. My first question is do you have like a hands-on lab or blog or anything that kind of walks through how you get the hello world version of this going with a custom entity?
Yes, so we are going to provide a quick start kind of article along with this. Right now, it's not available in preview. Like it's going to directly be generally available around the April timeframe. But we are going to provide steps on what exactly those keys are. And the existing documentation on docs.microsoft is also going to have that article with an example to say how you can get your entities configured.
That's very nice. I already have an idea of the exact Power Apps portal I am going to use this in. I'm really excited about it. We're tossing around the idea of building a Power Apps portal for our little thing we call the demo extravaganza here on the Power App community call. And it's basically just a fun contest for everyone around the world to demo cool stuff with Power Apps, and then the community picks a winner. And we've been tossing around the idea of building a portal to facilitate people putting their entries in for the extravaganza and doing the voting, and with the search capability with a custom entity that would fit exactly into what we have in mind there. I'm sure other people right now are got the wheels turning too. I do see a couple questions here. The first question is from Alistor, and his first question is this search powered by Azure? And does the small search icon in the top right provide the exact same experience? He says in the past he's seen differences between these two search methods.
Right. First one, no, it's not built on Azure Search. We right now run this show on Lucene Search. We do have plans in the long run to actually build it off the search that Dynamics and the Common Data Service use for relevant search. So yes, there are plans, but right now this runs on a different engine. The second question I heard was that there are differences in search results. So that happens because portals have their own orthogonal security model. But if you are doing like a global search and a user in Dynamics or Common Data Service has all privileges and also same is the experience, then it's going to show up the same record sets. It's not going to differ. It may do the sorting because based on the weights and the other things that you may have configured in site settings, but it's not gonna have lesser or more records just because of that. So it does give you kind of the same view. Only thing is if you have a different entity permission set up on the portal side, yes, then you're gonna have differences in data that show up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly what you would want, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Another question, Uday's got the exact same question I was going to ask you if no one popped it, and that is, how often is the data being indexed?
So we do have a specific time interval that we publish, and it's gonna kind of invalidate the index and rebuild it. We do provide, if you're just kind of building and unit testing, there is a services about page that you can hit where we explicitly give a kind of a button for it to be invalidated and the index to be rebuilt. So we give an action while you are kind of unit testing and quickly, trying out different criterias and logic for your data. But it's gonna take the updated records at regular time intervals from CDS, and the index is going to be updated.
That's awesome that you're thinking ahead on that one. You must come from a development background yourself. Let's see here. Would you be able to do that same trigger you talked about of the index programmatically?
Currently, we do not have an API support for that, but I would love to hear the example of what is that kind of tool or capability, what you're trying to build, where you would need the programmatic access to such rebuilding of the index.
I imagine it would be something related to ALM, or maybe a scenario where you received a big data dump on a regular basis, maybe once a month, you get 1 million records from another system put into CDS here where you're searching it, and then you need to make sure at that point in time you kick the index off. I guessed right. Victor, who asked the question, said that's exactly right. So that would be the scenario.
Got it. Yes. So I think if that's the scenario, we can think of multiple ways. Either, API providing that in the hands of the customizers or the devs, is one option, or we could have that as a configuration somewhere where it could get invalidated and rebuilt at a schedule. So yeah,
that'd be really handy. PowerShell or a REST API to trigger that, either one would be great. Heck, even make an action for us out of the box and have it available so we just drop it in a flow and tell it to run on a scheduled basis even might be really cool.
Noted.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming and sharing this awesome stuff with us too. Can we have you back again to show us what next thing evolves that you're working on with portals?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have a few things we would love to share with the community as they get mature around April or May timeframe. Yes, as we release them out, we would be happy to. I think as a team, we'll have more representation on portals. Yeah.
Sounds great. And my final question is right here on the screen. Have you tried the Northwind Traders clam chowder?
No, this is just.
No, I've heard that Fabricam makes a mean lobster bisque.
Sure.
I'm never at a shortage of bad jokes with fake Microsoft names. Thanks again. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on the show today, show, call, whatever you'd like to call it, and sharing all these great things.
Sure.
Good stuff. As we wrap up our call today, I've got a couple, actually 3 things of recent news to share. So going right along with Matthew's demo at the beginning today, April Dunham, she's been on the call before, and she now works for Microsoft. And she actually made a Teams integration with Power Apps Video as well. And so if you'd like to check out her demo on that too, you can check that out right there. The April release wave, I also encourage you to check all that out and see what is coming in there. And you can try out those updates now if you go look on that blog for more information. And then this last one, Brian made mention to this at the beginning of the call, and we were talking about the game that Matthew made. And he said that'd be fun to have everybody logged app insights for like a global leaderboard. This is a big deal if you haven't seen this yet. Essentially, they've made it so easy to log telemetry to Power Apps now that you don't even need to write your own code in Azure Functions and connectors and all kinds of ways to do these things now. So I really encourage you to check that out. And it's kind of near and dear to my heart because I actually presented on that topic on how to roll your own version of that. And now you don't even need to do that anymore. So it's really cool to see Microsoft find gaps like that and close them real quick in their products. I'd like to say thanks to everybody for joining us today. We usually do a little bit of community shout out here to everybody. I didn't have time, I'll be honest with you, to put that slide together this month. So thank you to everybody who's sharing the good news of Power Apps Online. I also wanted to put in a slide here to encourage everyone to go see the monthly Power Apps Hangout call that they have. If you search for that on Twitter or any search engine, if you go search Power Apps Hangout, you can find the meeting invite to that too. And that's also another call, much like this one, where people are just sharing the cool things they're doing with this technology. So shout out to all the Power Addicts and their community call as well. Encourage everyone to check it out. This call recording will soon be available on Office Developer YouTube. And then we will meet up again next month, March 18th at 8 a.m. Pacific time. We've had the Q&A all throughout the call here, and we're up on the call here, end of the call. So just on behalf of everybody who was on the call presenting here today, thanks for showing up and asking all the great questions. And to all 3 of the guys, Joe, Matt, Sandeep, thank you for being on the call. And Brian, thank you for being here and helping with questions, and everybody else too. I hope you all have a great month, and we'll see you next time.